You guys are going to have to deal with problems that we don't even yet realize are problems. You're going to have to deal with climate change. You're going to have to deal with the rise of artificial intelligence. And I think at the moment, I worry at the moment, that our curriculum is all about remembering things, and the artificial intelligence will do that for us. We've got to be able to make sure that we get on with each other.
John, can you tell us what your job is and what the focus of your work is?
Yeah, I can. I would call myself an independent consultant. So I work with lots of different organizations. Sometimes I work with primary schools or secondary schools. Sometimes I work with colleges. I work with trainee teachers. But most of my work is centered around helping teachers teach PSHE even better than they already do.
Interesting. And what would you like to achieve through your work?
I've been thinking about that question. And I wanted to say something grand, like I want to make the world a better place. And I suppose I do, but I think the real thing is to help teachers teach children even better, and to help children manage themselves, manage their relationships, develop their personal development even better than they already have at the moment.
That's really important. Why do you think we learn PSHE in school?
That's a good question. I think there are lots of reasons we need to learn PSHE. We learn PSHE at home as well, and schools and families have to work closely together to get the very best for children. I think for me, one of the things we often forget about PSHE is that it can really help children's learning and attainment in every area of the curriculum. It's easy for some teachers to think, or some parents to think, that PSHE is really just about staying healthy or cleaning our teeth. And those things are really important, crossing the road. But also when we're learning how to manage our emotions, manage our relationships, get on with people even better, we can learn to learn better, and happy, healthy children learn better. So I think there's a win-win when schools and families and children work together with their teachers. We can really improve things for children and young people, but the whole of society.
We're interviewing you as a part of the Lessons for Life campaign. Why do you think the Lessons for Life campaign is important?
Oh, goodness, that's a good question. Lessons for Life is really important. Schools have always focused on learning English and maths and other really important things like that. But we haven't always given, I think, as much time as we should have done for children's personal development, for their personal, social, health and economic development. We haven't always given children enough space to be able to understand their emotions, to manage their relationships, to manage their mental health. And I think it's essential, if we're going to have good quality learning, that we enable children to understand some of those things. You guys are going to have to deal with problems that we don't even yet realize are problems. You're going to have to deal with climate change. You're going to have to deal with the rise of artificial intelligence. There'll be all sorts of things you have to manage. And I think at the moment, I worry at the moment, that our curriculum is all about remembering things. And the artificial intelligence will do that for us. We've got to be able to make sure that we get on with each other, that we resolve our difficulties, that we manage our interpersonal skills, so we can really help children learn better and become better citizens and better people.
Great answer. What other problems do you think education can fix in society?
I'm a teacher, so I think education can solve every problem. Having said that, I think we need to be really careful. We've got so many challenges in our society at the moment, with all sorts of things going on. And I think there's a danger that we then overload schools. And if there's any problems, we say, schools can fix it, schools can fix it. But having said that, I think there's a really important place for schools just to broaden out, or to make sure that we include some of the things we've been talking about, like mental health, like keeping safe, like knowing how to manage our emotions and manage our relationships. Because you guys are going to have to deal with relationships throughout the rest of your lives. You're probably going to be alive in the 22nd century. And that's really exciting. But the challenges that you face and the things you're going to have to do, we have to start to learn about them in school, and then we learn about them with our families, so that you can carry them on when you're growing up and when you're nearly as old as I am.
We're going to pause for a moment. Did you know that 95.3% of you are not subscribed to this channel? Think about it. Hit the subscribe button. You won't regret it. John, what are some important skills that we could learn to help us in the future?
That's a great question, Gabbie. I think for me, one of the most important skills for young people to learn is how to manage the internet safely and appropriately, how to stay safe online, how to understand when somebody's telling us something, whether or not it's true or not. There's lots of fake news now, isn't there? I think also one of the things we have to develop are things like empathy, understanding how other people feel. We have to learn compassion. We have to learn how to speak and to listen to each other. And active listening is really important. It's really important we listen in school, but it's really important when we're grown-ups or when we're members of society that we're really listening to what people are saying and then responding kindly with compassion, with thoughtfulness and sensitivity so that we understand other people's problems so that we can work out how to make the world a better place.
We're now at the back to school segment. Can you tell me what your experience was like with PSHE or life skills lessons when you were in school?
It was a long time ago. I don't actually remember having many life skills lessons. Some of it I do remember, but I was really lucky because my mum and dad talked to me a lot, and my brother, and they were really helpful in helping us sort out how we felt and what we thought and what we were saying. And sometimes it was really challenging. I'd say something and my dad would say, well, how do you know that? How can you prove that? How would you back that up? So it was pretty challenging, but I think actually being put on the spotlight that can be really helpful. You don't have to be aggressive or unkind about it, but we can say to people, what makes you think that? What's another way of dealing with that? How do you respond to that? So we can make sure that we're using our active listening skills, we're talking to people, and it's not just about the knowledge or the information, but we're listening to each other and making the other person feel like they're really heard, like they really matter, just as you're doing now.
We're now going to test your knowledge. This hat contains some life skill questions for you to answer. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Please take a card out of the hat.
Okay, let's have a rummage. All right.
The topic is fire safety. Question number 1. What is a hoax call?
Oh, actually, that's really serious. A hoax call is when somebody pretends to ring the emergency services. It could be the fire service or possibly the police. But if they're fooling around and they're just trying to be silly or clever, I don't know why people do it. The problem is, of course, if a fire service or the ambulance comes to a hoax, to a pretend call, it means they're not then looking after people who are genuinely in danger or ill. So we've got to make sure that we never make hoax calls. If somebody dials 999 and they realize they've made a mistake, or perhaps it wasn't as serious as thought, then they can tell the operator and say, actually, we don't need the ambulance or the fire service because we got a mistake. And I think the fire service would far rather have somebody say, oh, I made a mistake. If we make hoax calls, it can be really dangerous for everybody.
We should never do that. Question number 2. What should you do first if your clothes catch on fire?
I suppose if somebody's clothes catch on fire, the most important thing is to drop on the ground and try and roll. If somebody's nitpicking, so we talk about stop, drop, and roll. So if your clothes catch fire, things can only burn if oxygen gets to it. So if we lie on the ground and we roll, that might put the flames out. And of course, if somebody else's clothes catch fire and you've got a jacket or something you can take off and smother the flames with them, then that should keep them safe.
I hope I don't catch on fire. Me too. And the final question is, how often should you check that your smoke alarm is working?
Oh my goodness. Is it once a month?
Actually, according to the latest recommendations, it's once a week.
Oh, thank you. I better remember that.
You're not wrong, though. Once a month is the minimum requirement.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'll remember that.
Well done for answering your questions. You did really well. Joan, can you tell us your biggest life lesson today?
That's a great question, actually. I think my biggest life lesson actually came from my mum. When she retired, she moved from quite a big house and lots of views over the countryside, and she moved to a little house which is surrounded by other houses. I said, how do you find living in this house surrounded by other houses? And her answer was, she said, you have to look between the houses and you can see the fields. And I thought that was it was really good for her. It was a great answer. But also, I think sometimes in life, when we're faced with all sorts of struggles, sometimes we can be overwhelmed by things. But sometimes you have to look between the problems. You look between the houses and you can see the green fields. There's always something to look forward to.
That was really wholesome. Can I ask you, if you could change one thing about education, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. I think take the pressure off teachers. Teachers work incredibly hard, and head teachers particularly, and I do worry sometimes about their mental health and their emotional well-being. But if we could take the pressure off teachers and allow them to enjoy their teaching and to have a bit more balance in the curriculum, in the things that we teach, we could make sure that children's personal development was absolutely top of the list. Of course, things like English and maths are really important. We've got to learn how to do our times tables and all those sorts of things. But for me, for people to be able to get on with each other, to manage themselves, manage their emotions, manage their own mental health, help other people, that's absolutely crucial. And if we could take the pressure off schools and allow teachers to love teaching people like you, then that'd be even better. It'd be fantastic. I think we could really make a difference there.
John, if you could teach children one thing before they leave primary school, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. One thing. I think for me, it's about getting on with each other. We've got to manage ourselves and manage our relationships. We've got to manage our emotions. And if we could teach children how to develop resilience, how to make sure that when life knocks them back, they were able to get up and respond appropriately, I think we'd be on to a winner. If we can teach children how to manage themselves and manage their emotions, then they learn better, they get on better in school, things probably work better at home for them. So that's, for me, is absolutely crucial.
That makes a lot of sense. Before we finish our interview, is there anything else you'd like to say for our listeners today?
Well, I'm very tempted to shamelessly plug my services and what I offer schools. If there are teachers out there watching this and they want to get in touch, they want some help with PSHE, I'd love to help them with that. But I suppose if there was one thing I really wanted to say is to encourage people to look at the Lessons for Life website, to look at what we're doing, to see what you're achieving, and if possible, sign the petition, because I think that the time is now right for us to talk to the new government and say this work that we are doing in schools about PSHE and personal development is absolutely crucial. And if we could get people to do that, I'd be a happy man.
Together we're stronger.
You're absolutely right. Thank you. Well done.
I've got one more question for you, John. If you could create a new PSHE topic, what would that be?
Oh my goodness, that is a good question. I think we're just starting to learn about a bit more about how the brain works. And if we could teach children from quite a young age, and certainly when they get a bit even older than you guys, where if we could teach children how their brain works and how the brain explains things and how it influences the way we think and we act and we feel, I think that would be a major change. So if we could teach how the brain works, that'd be our new PSHE topic.
That would be a really good topic. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
It's been lovely to meet you, Marnie, and great to meet you as well, Gabbie. Thank you both.
To find out more, visit lessonsforlife.org.